Okay, hello. How's everyone doing? Hopefully, you should be able to see me. Welcome to the Working on a Dime Saturday stream, starting roughly at about 5 o'clock. I am really hoping that it's updating onto the YouTube. I am keenly watching the YouTube studio. There's my face. There we go. Yeah, so hello, welcome to the Saturday stream. I'm doing it solo today. Fraser's on a train. He is visiting parents, which is always fun, especially because lockdown is starting to ease a bit in Scotland, so people can start travelling safely. So I'm on my own, and today I'm working on this little hut village house thing. Words. So this is Bunny's room. Bunny is one of the people who live in this cottage, and so I'm kind of scribbling about and figuring out the space of things. We got things like this bunk bed, and then what I'm going to put under the bunk bed, maybe like some chests and stuff. And we all love a good rug. There's been some significant progress since last week on the ground floor. So all of the walls and the windows and everything else is laid out and ready to go. And thank you, Jenny, for saying you can hear this nice and clear. Good, because I've had audio problems last week for this stream, and then I had an echo, which was very strange. What was it? On Wednesday when I was doing Beast Fables. So I just wanted to make sure that everything was hokey cokey, floky. Yes, so I'm just going to make sure you can hear the music as well. I'm currently listening to the Firewatch indie game original soundtrack. But it's not showing up. Where is this son of a... He's not here. Right, maybe if I take off the... because I'm on the wrong panel in OBS. I've had to redo a lot of the settings, but that has led to me having some really cool options to play around with. There we go. You should be able to hear some gentle music coming through now. And we have the microphone, which is doing its microphone thing. Let me see. Yeah, cool. Hello. So this is the ground floor. A lot of work has gone into this, so we've got a lot of the details mapped out. I'll be hopefully getting onto some line work. We also have the ground floor as well. Not ground floor, the basement, which is here. We have got some secret stuff underneath this tarpaulin. See, I got a special layer called Hidden, which is fancy. So there's some stuff underneath here, which I will get to when I do lines. And obviously the basement is much smaller because the whole of the rest of the house is in this sort of like above space, which is cool. So we've got the ground floor, and today I'm going to be quickly bashing out first floor. So this is a storage chamber I was just working on before the stream to warm up. And you've got some golden dogs in there, some band instruments. The prompt I was given was confiscated instruments, and I figured that all confiscated instruments would be like horns and drums and loud things. So, like a vuvuzela, I feel like that would be a band instrument. And a tub of twirling batons as well, so good fun. We have a child's house and a bathroom to do, and a little window nook, and then we have got some stairs up to the second floor, which is vaguely mapped out with all sorts of cool things happening. So yeah, I hope you guys are doing okay today. Let me know how you're feeling, how you're getting on, and we'll have a little chat and a hang and a doing of the stuff. And if the music is distracting or annoying, or too quiet or too loud, let me know, and I will be able to alter it and play about. I used to sleep in a bunk bed when I moved home briefly after uni. I actually had a flower pot hanger from my bunk bed that was sort of like here-ish. So I've been told that there was a box of love letters in this room. So I feel actually the box wouldn't be like by the bed on the floor, it would be sort of hanging from this mattress bit here. Hanging from the mattress is a really good idea. Really love that for her. Yes, so all thumbs up on hanging love letter boxes. We do love that. I have to go buy some potato salad for a picnic tomorrow, and the farm shop shuts at 6 p.m. You run. You go get that potato salad. It is the most important thing. And one little detail, I have been DM'd. Let me go to my Twitter. So people in the chat are the people who commissioned. Apparently, these are dog-sized dragons, as opposed to dragon-sized dogs. They're a bit more dragony now. There we go. So that was just me making the back window near the dining table a bit bigger, because apparently a lot of people like to sit and watch outside of it, which I would love to have a back garden, and also people to watch from the window which looks onto it. Those are words. Yeah. So it's like switch to the Shelter OST. Shelter is also a indie game on PC and console. It's about a badger taking care of their kids, if I remember correctly. It's got that same sort of like rustic, southern vibe with like the like strong bassy electric guitar and all that vibe. A lot of very natural sounds as well. going to put a wardrobe here to make the best use of the space, because it's kind of hidden behind the wall as it is. Because if I put anything else there, then the wall will cut it off, because this is where the cut-off point is for what's visible. What I like about this house design is that the people who've asked me to do it have thought about toilets. Now, toilets are a massive passion of mine in role-playing games because they're so important. Good hygiene and taking care of waste are two huge plot motivators for people to go on adventures. They are key to society, to making sure that people stay healthy. Like if you have human waste in the streets or just in pots, disease spreads so much faster. So the idea that there's toilets that people like to use that are regularly cleaned, that have flowing water, says a lot about the world, but also it makes it like you don't have to worry about please go, deal with this dragon that's threatening town, and then afterwards, because you unclog our drains, because if you don't, we'll also die. Like, they've got toilets, you can focus on being heroes. And equally, if the toilets break, suddenly they go from, like, dragon slayers to toilet slayers. Which I think is cool. Toilet world building is really important. Just saying. I did goes takes me back to what I was 16. I did a GCSE in medicine through time, which was such an interesting module to do as a kid because it's supposed to let's look at English and let's look at Shakespeare and all the regular stuff. It's like let's look at toilets in industrial London. Let's look at conceptions of medicine in ancient Egypt. And there was a lot to do with toilets, and often regular health is associated to how people deal with their waste. So, it's very important. I found this out the other day while doing research for Beast Fables, which is a show I do every Wednesday. Badgers dig up their own latrines. Like, they actually dig their own toilet pits and then bury them when they get full in their burrows, because they live in very, very social communities. I just realised the music is quite loud. So they live in their own social communities. They're very tightly knit burrow structures, and to make sure that everything's clean, they dig toilets, which is insane, because you wouldn't think of an animal as being taking care of themselves in that way. Or at least they go outside and then come back, but they have a full functioning toilet system in their burrows, which is just cool. Okay, so we've got a bathroom with some with a toilet peeking out nowhere and some toothbrushes. Give a little cistern. There we go. And rug and some mirrors of all different heights and sizes. We have got a bedroom with a bunk bed and a love letter chest and a sword and some armor and a desk. We've got a room with 2 dragons in it and a bunch of other stuff. There's this room, which apparently is empty except for 2 signs that say live, laugh, love. And a child's house. So I'm just going to draw that. There we go. Okay, that's all the rooms done. Now I need to do stairs. Stairs are fun, but also they suck. Especially when they are spiraling upwards. Now I need to think about how I'm going to do this. So I have stairs now. Now what else is going to fill the space before I finish this floor and move on to the next one? That's the question. And second question, what am I going to play next? Because just finished the Shelter OST, which was really chill. Really liked that. I designed these stairs to be easy to climb up for people, so it's not like lots of like really steep ones. But apparently there's going to be a toddler in the house soon, so maybe they've just put like a bunch of cushions in the center there, so if anyone fell, it'll all be okay. But maybe some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of railing. That'd be good. Apparently danger is actually in. Okay. We'll take the railing out. Maybe I'll just put a pit trap here with big spikes. I mean, everyone needs a pit trap in the first floor. Where would that fall onto in the house? Ah, the seating area. You just fall straight through into the couch space below. That'd be neat. Oh, that could be really cool, actually. What about some kind of, like, glass ceiling? Or suspended chandelier. Now I need to figure out how to draw a chandelier. I've never drawn a chandelier before. You know, having watched a playthrough of both The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, I think The Last of Us, the original, so Part 1, had much stronger scoring in terms of music. Like, I'm trying to think about the music I was hearing in Part 2, and ultimately none of it is as memorable or had themes as characters did in Part 1, in my opinion. Like, I've always been a sucker for strong theming. I think music is very, very important in role-playing games, and like in any kind of media, but especially in role-playing games as that sort of a background space filler while you're making decisions and thinking. So, like this here, this is a theme called Vanishing Grace, which comes up several times in The Last of Us Part 1 soundtrack. And it's a sort of nostalgic, very slow piece. That very much just draws you into listening to it. I realise that maybe I've turned the volume down a bit too much on the music. I've been listening to The Last of Us Part 1 music soundtrack thing. And what I like about these themes is that you start having associations with characters. You start, like, immediately once you hear the music, you start thinking about that aspect in that theme. Like, it's informative, as music should be. It adds to a scene as opposed to just telling you what's there. Watching an interesting video about music, actually, as to why you can always, like, hum melodies from... You always recognize melodies from Star Wars, but you can never hum anything from the Avengers, because all of the Avengers themes have been extremely forgettable. For all most of the Avengers movies, for example, like aside from the single like Avengers ensemble, there are no themes that are very memorable from the films, and that's just because they go to tell you what's happening in the scene, as opposed to going the extra mile and giving you something to think about during the scene. Which I thought was very interesting. like here in part 1, the combat music is very unobtrusive. Now, I wouldn't say the combat music is especially good or memorable, it's just sort of like a rough sort of drumming sound. But you get that idea or that sensation that once you start hearing that drumming and that percussion coming in, that suddenly you're like, oh shit, here comes combat. Here comes danger. Which is, what it's meant to do. And then when you have these more quieter moments of reflection with characters, you start getting their themes coming through. Like this one here. I'm going to start this again and then pause it and say words. So that there, the do-do, 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 like that melody there is really simple, and it will repeat again and again throughout the game, but having it now been established, we will now, every time we hear this music, our brains will immediately start thinking of the scene it was introduced in, and the sort of atmosphere that was in that scene. So, as opposed to just being like, this scene is sad now, it'll say, this scene is related to the previous scene this music or this melody was in. So this one here is called Choice. I'm assuming this is probably where you have to make a difficult choice in the story. I can't remember exactly because I haven't watched a playthrough in a while. But, assumedly, every time you hear this theme, you're going to be thinking about different choices you're making and choices characters are making in the story and the weight of those decisions, even if they do them quite casually. I think this theme is about Ellie and Joel. So the previous theme, Vanishing Grace, which I will play really quickly. Just a little clip of this one. So this one with a little guitar plucking. This is nostalgia. This is playing every single time Ellie is finding something from like the world before the apocalypse happened, before a bunch of other stuff. It's going to be when Joel's reflecting on his family. It's that sort of like that past vibe. It's very, very cool. And the choice instead here is much more somber and slow and reflective, as opposed to being more higher and clearer. So as this develops throughout the game, it'll be really interesting. What's also good is that here they've set up a very simple melody, and then after about 40 seconds, it gets a touch more complicated, so that it doesn't get boring or repetitive in a scene, or as part of the game. Like it develops within the scene itself, but the melody itself brings you back to those thoughts. I'm not saying it very clearly. I'm sure anyone who's studied music for even half an hour could summarize that vibe better than me, but I think it's very important in video games having music like this. So, Jenny's asked, do you use mood music in your D&D games? So yes, I actually believe that it is so important having music. I find music helps, because I mentioned earlier that it's good for that thinking space for role-playing games. We all like to think that role-playing games will be like Critical Role. Well, I mean, I say like Critical Role, even it happens with the best professional kind of productions out there. People need time to make decisions. And we like to, in role-playing games, pretend that we're heroes who can do all sorts of really cool stuff and backflip and shoot people or whatever. Like, we like to pretend that's who we are, but it's not necessarily the truth. So we need more time as a person, as a human, to make those decisions, and think about what our character would do in the moment, not necessarily what we would do in the moment, and kind of get into that headspace. That could take 30 seconds, that could take a minute. And a minute of silence is a very long time, especially when we've all been conditioned socially to think about conversation and taking part. Like, if you had a conversation with someone and you didn't say anything for a full minute and they were waiting for you to respond, that could be tense. However, if you have background music, if you have mood music there, it's filling that space. It's letting you breathe and consider, and there's stuff going on. It's not an awkward silence necessarily, which is important. So yes, long story short, I think mood music is very important. I use mood music a lot in Beast Fables to set scenes. So I'm currently just using indie game soundtracks from people that I've emailed, but they haven't responded to me to say if I could use them or not. So if they say I can't, then I'll stop using them. But they're quite old games as well. But I'd say if you're doing it privately, just use any soundtrack that you like that gets the vibe across of that mood, and make playlists. Like, I have maybe like 30 D&D playlists that are literally on my Spotify, just like D&D sad, D&D tense, D&D cave ambient, D&D wilderness dawn, like different scenes that I think are going to be coming up, so I have them ready so I can just slap them on. I also have, because in Roll20 you have specific tracks as well that's like queued up. I use specific repeating tracks that have a good loop to them for tailoring the mood that I'm playing when I'm doing Beast Fables. Because I know that my players, Ver and Atlanta, they respond really well to music, and they also really get into the vibe and the mood very quickly. They're very, very good role players. Atlanta's new to this. Atlanta's only been playing like maybe 4 or 5 months, but is really, really good at getting into like the mood and the scene. Ver's been playing maybe I think like 2-3 years. Equally, like they're just as good as each other and just as good at like getting into character and thinking about what they're going to be doing, and they use the mood music to kind of run with it. So again, Jenny's asking, I suppose you don't have this problem much running games for 2 people, but how do you make sure people are able to take part equally? So that is a very broad like question/problem to address. So I think it all depends on how people are taking part, and then how you okay, so to start with, let's have an example. So say you've got 6 players, you've got 4 like moderately moderately engaged players, your averagely engaged player. You've got a 5th very loud, like center stage player, and then you've got a 6th very quiet player. So getting everyone to engage equally is a mixture of good communication, as well as recognizing when you've thrown someone a bone, and then helping introduce other people into scenes, or equally kind of know when to end a scene for someone if they've had their time, so to speak. Think of it like you're a conductor, or conductor's the wrong word. You're more like a chaperone. You've got 6 kids, they all want to play on the swings, and they want a set of swings. You've got to time them for how long they can play on the swings. That's your role as the narrator, as the game master. You're keeping the story moving. And that means everyone gets to be in on the story. So, say you've got 4 average players, to make sure that everyone can... Ooh, this is very intense soundtrack. I'm gonna click onwards. There we go. If you've got 4 average players, then pairing them up in scenes. Like if one person's doing something, putting something in the scene that you know another player would be interested in and getting them to come in can be a good way of making sure that everyone's getting some time to interact, especially if it's specific to individual characters. So someone goes to the shop and then they see that there is something interesting there for another player. They get to either roleplay not knowing it is and missing it, or they get to buy it and then bring it over and they get to have a conversation and then you can move it on. Or that player can say, oh, hey, you know, I might go along to the shop as well, and then it you know, different ways of drawing people into a scene. Alternatively, say if you've got like that loud and quiet dynamic, good communication comes in there. You talk to the quiet player and you say, hey, I'm noticing you're not engaging as much in the story. How comfortable are you with what's going on? Is there any way that I can make your fun easier or better? Like, how can we work together? What are your expectations? Because it might be that they're being quiet, but they are actually okay with that, and they like to watch and engage, and then just, you know, throw a healing spell in combat or whatever. Or they like to, like, run in, do their barbarian rage, hit 5 things, and then that's it. They don't like to do a lot of roleplay. They just like to be part of the party. Which is totally fair. Role-playing is for everybody. But knowing that's what the expectations are, and then everyone having those same expectations, so that they do a little bit of roleplay, but also they don't like try and force anything with players or characters or whatever. That can be one way of addressing it, because it might be that it doesn't have to be equally engaged, it just has to be satisfactorily engaged. So some people get more time, but they want that. Some people get less time, but they want that. Equally, if they're shy and you think they want to play, but are too shy to say, hey, I would like to play, then I'd recommend maybe something more along the lines of like drawing characters in, but also throwing them specifically things that only their character can deal with or have an insight on, and helping them engage that way. And not just being like, oh, I think that you would know what these runes are, only Cassandra can, you know, decipher them, Cassandra make an Arcana roll. That's more railroad approached. I would say throw problems that you are actively able to ask them, how would you approach this? Oh, I think Cassandra's the only one who would know what to do here. Cassandra, what would you like to do? Or like, oh, so you're all doing these things. Oh, that's another good one. Asking what people want to do. If you have like a more free-form approach, like, oh, you have to investigate in this circus, then I'd say it's a good idea or vibe to grab everyone together and then just say, hey, what are each of your characters doing? And then write them all down and then literally just go through the list. And that way you can allocate, you can time yourself and be like, right, so everyone, you know, in my head I've got 10 minutes for each person to investigate something. And if someone joins into a scene halfway through, then I'll extend the time of the scene, I'll add their time into the scene, but then that'll be their thing as well. They want to get to go do their own thing, as it happens. And that's like a physical human world time thing, that's not an in-game time thing. Because the investigation could take like 10 minutes tops, total for everybody, like in-game, but it could take an hour to resolve as people, out of game. But yeah. And that means that when you have louder players that like to take more of the stage and like to throw themselves into scenes, you can actually say, oh no, you've had your action. Like use those words like, oh, you've spent your time, you've had your space, I'm now moving on to someone else. So yeah, that's how I would allocate time to people in the story. And even then, in a more lighthearted sense, it can still be just as big a struggle. Okay, not as big a struggle, but it can still be a struggle with 2 players because it's what people are excited about in the story. I know that when we were world building before we started streaming Beast Fables, Atlanta and Ver and I were super excited about Ver's toad and like toad culture, and so we were all focusing on toads, like constantly. We still kind of do. There are so many cool things, this sort of strange, asexual, English night vibe toad culture can offer, and we're all going for it. But a lot of like bat culture and bat roleplay is kind of being put to the side to a degree because it's not necessarily relevant to the story. And I've had to be like, as a narrator, as the person organising the story, going, okay, cool, we've done a lot of bat stuff, or we've done a lot of toad stuff. Remember, we're going to be getting to the bat soon. We should maybe throw some bat stuff together into our talks. So it's about moderating. There we go, that's the word. You're the moderator. You're about moderating the story, moderating how much time people have, moderating the game. And as for a circus, an alarming amount of I run an alarming amount of games set in circuses, and if I played circus music non-stop, my 7 players would kill me. So I would say music doesn't necessarily have to be directly in that environment. If you're doing combat, that's the other thing. D&D combat can go on forever. So I would go for long playlists that loop fairly consistently. Pillars of Eternity has a lot of music that is, or like game, like I would like look at Baldur's Gate, Pillars of Eternity, Icewind Dale. All of those have music that's designed to loop over long periods of time and be heard again and again and again and again and again. So they're all good to ignore, and they're all designed to be ignored, and they work very well. So I would say pick up those music, throw them in, and then have a general battle playlist, and then if you have a specific kind of combat like circus, you throw in a few circus tracks that are interspaced between these other more general tracks, so that every now and then, every 10 minutes, a circus track comes up and people are like, oh yeah, we're fighting in a circus, oh god, scary fire clowns, or whatever. That is a project I would like to do in the future. Is I would like to make role-playing soundtrack music that specifically copyright, what's the word? CC, Creative Commons. Creative Commons non-commercial, I think, would be the thing, with the ability to specifically apply for an automated license. So essentially, it's Creative Commons. Anyone can use it for free, and share it alike, as all the content they're making is also free. And if you want to be using it for like monetized things, say for streams, or if you want to include it in a game or whatever, then you have to apply for it's like automated. It's just an automated agreement that's like, oh yeah, the thing I'm using this in is not sexist or homophobic or racist or whatever. Because the whole point of Creative Commons is that anyone can use it, which is a good value, but then like the extra mile to go totally free, you just have to say that you're not using it for like racist, homophobic stuff, and then ta-da, you can have it again for free. And that way, if there's like, gross, nasty people who are using it for gross, nasty things, then I can, in theory, be like, cease and desist, please do not use it for gross things, because that's not the intended purpose, and also gross. I think the sun has... Yeah, it's mostly gone away. I think, maybe. We'll see. At about like 6 o'clock, the sun just beams straight in to my living room where I'm working, and it is super bright. Nope, it's coming back. You can see my face getting brighter. Yeah, so we have a chandelier. It was the nook. I have a spiral staircase needs to go here. And a chair, book, nook. Splat, book downstairs. There. I think I got this wrong. Let me see. There we go. hey Fraser. Thank you. Yes, haircut. I got one. My hair is now shorter. Because it is so freaking hot in Scotland all of a sudden. Like, it's been raining for yonks, and now it is sun. Deadly laser. Pew, pew, pew. So, yes, yes. Short, nice and fresh. Scrub my head, get rid of the dandruff. All that jazz. I hope you got your train home safely. And that everything was okay. How are trains? Are they delayed? I'm gonna be, maybe, going on like a lovely socially distant mountain walking holiday with my dad. At the end of August in Scotland. So we'll go and hide in the middle of nowhere, near nobody, looking at nature with no one around. And I might have to get the train over to where he can get a ferry over from Ireland. So, yeah, how are the trains? The trains okay? This music is getting a little slow. Is there like a good one to end on? Ooh, yes, this one. Very last bit of music in the game. Oh, I love The Last of Us. It's extremely depressing. Which is a mood. Okay. So that was Last of Us. Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, no, it's really coming along. I should be able to have. I'll finish the bedroom on the second floor, and then I'll send over like the draft, and then I can do the line work once any edits you guys need made is done. Yeah. But if you guys, this is a recommendation. I'm probably going to end the stream in a few minutes, but I'd recommend if there's any, if there's a game you want to play, have a feel of good music, it is the Banner Saga. It was the whole score, all three games was composed by Austin Wintory, who does a fantastic job. He did the same music for Journey. Well, he didn't do the same music, but he did music for Journey. Well, he scored Journey, and very, very emotionally fraught game. Love it. Yeah, so I'm just going to rub out the rest of these lines. Oh, no, not draw. I said rub out. And then that's this floor done, hopefully. There we go. That is one house floor with a chandelier, which I've never drawn before. At least draftified, I guess. Ta-da! I think that looks pretty decent. We'll definitely get some polish when the line work goes in. But, yeah. Well, thank you for joining me today for this very casual solo stream. Been cool listening to some music. No doubt this video is going to get some flack from Rockstar. Being like, why you dare play our music? We're going to demonetize your stream. And I'll be like, haha, I don't monetize it anyway. So, yeah, that'd be fun. I recommend that if you can, go outside and get some sunlight, because we are part plant. We don't photosynthesize, but we do need that vitamin D. We'll see. I think it's D. Anyway, have a nice night, guys, and I shall catch you on Wednesday, because Wiggle the Fingers on Wednesday is Beast Fables at 12:30, and also keep your eyes out. I'm running a giveaway soon for these cool pin badges that I've gotten made that are really, really, really cool and look awesome. This is the Dungeon Master version, and I have like a whole box of them, of lots of different designs, which is going to be really cool. And I'm doing a giveaway soon, like share posts and stuff like that. But also, if you just join the Patreon, just get a random one for free. And you only have to pay $5 a month, which is like £3. So consider it. Yeah, so I hope you guys have a great night, and I will catch you soon. Bye.